Tales from the Stone, Medusa's Last Wish. The forgotten temple stood at the edge of a barren cliff, its once grand columns now weathered by time. The air, thick with dust and the remnants of ancient rituals, whispered of a story lost to all but the stones. In the heart of the temple's darkest chamber, beneath layers of shadows, lived Medusa, a name once revered and now feared by all who spoke it. Medusa was no longer the woman she once was. The gods had transformed her, stripping away her beauty and turning her into a creature of stone and serpents. Her hair, once flowing and golden, now writhed with living venomous snakes. Her eyes, once gentle, now held the power to turn anything that looked upon them into cold, lifeless stone. She had been cursed by Athena, punished for a crime she had not chosen, a victim of divine jealousy and rage. In her isolation, Medusa had lived for centuries, her heart broken, her spirit drained. She had been a priestess of Athena, revered for her beauty and her devotion. She had spent her days in the temple, offering prayers, leading rituals, and serving the goddess she loved. But one fateful day, Poseidon had entered her temple, and in a moment of passion and betrayal, he took from her the innocence she had once cherished. Athena, in her fury, could not stop the act, and in her anger she cursed Medusa to an eternity of suffering. She turned the beautiful woman into a monster, her hair twisted into serpents, her gaze deadly. No longer would Medusa be a symbol of grace. Instead, she became a symbol of fear, a living embodiment of the gods' wrath. Medusa had pleaded for mercy, but mercy was a luxury the gods could not afford her. They banished her to this temple, deep within the earth, where no mortal or god would dare approach. Here she remained, alive yet forgotten, a prisoner of her own curse. Years turned into decades, and decades into centuries. The world outside changed, but Medusa remained the same, her heart heavy with sorrow and anger. No one came to speak to her, and no one dared look upon her face. Her days were spent in silence, broken only by the sound of her serpents hissing in the dark. And then one day a young hero named Perseus arrived. Perseus had been sent on a quest. A mighty hero known for his strength and bravery, he had been tasked with the impossible, to slay Medusa and bring her head to King Polydectes. Armed with a shield polished by Athena herself and winged sandals gifted by Hermes, Perseus set off on his journey. He knew the legends. He had heard of the Gorgon, the monster whose gaze could turn men to stone. But as he approached the temple, something strange happened. The air grew still, the wind stopped blowing, and the ground seemed to tremble beneath his feet. Perseus's heart pounded in his chest, and for the first time, doubt crept into his mind. He had come here with one purpose, to kill the monster. But now, as he stood before the entrance, shield in hand, he hesitated. Inside the temple, Medusa sat in the dim light, her serpents restless as they coiled around her shoulders. She heard footsteps echoing from the chamber's entrance. At first, she thought it was another lost wanderer, another soul who would meet their end at her gaze. But when she turned, she saw him, Perseus. For a moment, their eyes locked, and Medusa felt a strange sensation, an unfamiliar warmth, a flicker of recognition. Perseus's shield gleamed in the low light, and his eyes, though filled with determination, held a flicker of something else, something she couldn't place. "You've come to kill me, haven't you?" Medusa's voice was soft, barely a whisper, like the rustle of wind through the leaves. Perseus paused, his sword raised, but not yet striking. The legends had prepared him for a fierce battle, for a creature of evil that must be slain. But the woman before him, this was not the monster he had been told about. This was not the creature of nightmares. She was something more, something that held sorrow in her eyes, something that had once known love.
I came to fulfill my quest, Perseus said, his voice faltering for the first time. He lowered his sword slightly. But Are you truly the monster they say you are?
Medusa's gaze softened, and she let out a sigh, a long, weary breath. I was a priestess of Athena once. I was once a woman of faith and beauty, but the gods took that from me. I was punished for something I did not choose. I did not ask for this curse. Perseus looked at her, his heart aching for the woman who had been trapped by the gods' cruelty. He had been raised to fear Medusa, to see her as a threat, but now he saw her for what she truly was, a victim, a woman who had lost everything. If you are here to kill me, Perseus, Medusa continued, then I ask for one thing, a final wish. Before I am turned to stone forever, before my soul is sealed in this curse, I ask you to grant me this. Perseus, still unsure of what to do, lowered his shield.
What is your wish?
Medusa closed her eyes, the weight of centuries of suffering pressing down upon her. Take my head to Athena. Let her see what she has done. Let her understand that even in her wrath there is a price to pay. I do not want vengeance. I only want acknowledgment. Acknowledgment that I was once a woman, a servant of the gods, and I deserve to be seen as such. For a moment there was silence. Perseus felt the weight of her words. He had come to kill a monster, but instead he was standing before a woman who had been wronged by the very gods she had once served.
I will grant your wish, Perseus said, his voice heavy with the weight of his decision.
With one swift motion, Perseus raised his sword and severed Medusa's head. The serpent stilled, and the air in the temple seemed to hold its breath. For a moment, Medusa's form remained, as if frozen in time, and then she crumbled, turning to stone. But even in her stillness, her wish had been fulfilled. Perseus, his heart heavy, took Medusa's head and made the long journey back to Athena's temple. When he arrived, he placed the head before the goddess, his eyes filled with the pain of what he had learned. Athena stood silent, staring at the severed head of the woman she had cursed. For the first time, she saw the truth. Medusa had not been a monster. She had been a woman, wronged by gods and mortals alike. And so, the story of Medusa was rewritten, not as a tale of terror, but as one of sorrow, a story of a woman who had lived and died at the hands of the gods' cruel whims. Her last wish was not forgotten, and in the quiet of the temple, as the stone of Medusa's gaze shimmered in the dim light, the gods knew that they, too, would one day face the price of their actions. The curse of Medusa had been broken, not by death, but by acknowledgment. So, what do you think? Thank you all for watching and for your support. Your kindness means so much to me. Please like, comment, and subscribe for more.